Howdy, soldiers. It's Christmas. When I first did this makeup look, I was going for red, but then I guess the ready color I have is more orange, so we're going like off-brand Christmas. Merry Chrysler. When I upload this, it's going to be 5 or maybe 4 days until Christmas, and I'm excited. I know this year has been awful. Holidays in general are going to look different than they have every other year, but if you were like me and would like to still buy things for other people, it's like a token of appreciation and maybe celebration that you got through another year, I decided to do a video. I also don't quite know what this video was going to be, because when I originally planned it, it was going to be one of those, if you liked this, read this, but like gifts, but then it was too long of a title, and then I was thinking, oh, I'll just recommend books that I like to give myself. Like, not give myself, maybe give myself. I think I've given most of these to myself, but like from me to other people, and I was like, how do I make a title out of that? I don't know. So, you know, my friends and I share a brain cell, and it's not my turn to have it today, so who knows what this video is going to be. I think it's going to be gifty, and I think it's going to be Christmassy, and books are going to be involved somehow. I'm digging into the recesses of my brain and pulling out that bookstore employee to help recommend you some books. But hopefully some of these will work for you, so without further ado, here is a gift guide to books for people, and maybe yourself, if you liked some of these things and you want to buy them and read them. That's gonna have to be a working title. Quick thing to say before we begin. Say it all with me now. Books are gender neutral. Good. So every book recommendation I give today is just for whomever that likes to read young adult books in your life. Whether you are one, you have one, or you're gonna give it to one. Doesn't matter what gender they are. People like to read whatever they want to read, and you should just let them, because it's not hurting you. So, it's Christmas time. And we'll have none of that shenaniganery. Let's get started. The first 2 books are the books that I always recommend to people who want to get somebody into reading. So those 2, I have options for you, like the benevolent channel leader that I am. So we have Scythe by Neil Shusterman and The Sun is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon. These 2 are some of my favorite books just in general. So if you want like a cool sci-fi dystopian, or if you want like a fun sweet contemporary, I personally love this book because it does the trope of insta-love right. This entire book takes place over 1 day, but it's so well paced, and there's such good connections between the characters that you believe it. Not only is it a cute, fun, quirky romance in New York, it's also about family and like immigration issues and stereotypes and racism and interracial couples. It's fun, it's fast, it's quirky, it's super cute, and I also love how it touches on how you influence people based on who you touch in your life. I think it's a really cool idea, and like really it's beautiful. Who wouldn't want to get this as a gift? Or if you want something a little grittier, more dystopian, I'd say Scythe by Neil Shusterman is really good because this gets a little existential without being ridiculous. This is in a futuristic world where technology has gotten so good that no one can die. And so there are people that are called scythes whose job it is to cull the population. Yes, I know, a little morbid as a Christmas gift, but stay with me. Our 2 main characters are scythe apprentices, and the way that they're pitted against each other when a newer bad scythe comes to town. So it talks about morality and mortality and like what it means to be human and have connections with people and like what you're willing to fight for. And you know me, I love a good sassy AI, and there is a benevolent AI character in here as well who is its own other character, which I think is really cool. It's like a good soft sci-fi. Plus the whole series is out now and it just gets better. So you could just buy the whole series, like, you could just do that. Another book I recommend to people who want to get into reading, and specifically maybe like at a lower literacy level, so either younger teenagers or just people who don't do well with like giant thick books. I realize now I'm going to recommend you this giant thick book, but it is Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. It's a different, very thick, long book because the entire thing is written in documents and pictures and emails and, oh, that's a kind of a spoilery page, we're gonna close that. This is a sci-fi horror thriller, and the entire thing, I mean, it looks huge. This took me less than 2 hours to read because you could just kind of flip through it. You can read things. There's so many little like details on the pages that you can get lost in, so it's like very immersive and really cool looking. I know so many people, myself included, that have just gotten sucked into this novel, and that's why I always recommend it to people who are starting to read YA. Now, if you're gonna get this new reader into something fantasy related and you don't really want to go the like Throne of Glass route, or oh my god, what's what's a fantasy YA series? I'm not using the brain cell today, okay? If you want to go a heavier fantasy route that's less romance-based and more just like fantasy-based, I'd recommend these two, one of which being Truthwitch by Susan Dennard and A Song of Race and Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown. I'd say Truthwitch is more of a traditional fantasy novel. It's very fantasy and world-based, it's very political-based, but it also is about these two friends, and one of them is a Truthwitch who can tell when people are lying, and one of them is a Threadwitch who can see the connections between others. And they're teaming up with a prince who is like a little bit disgraced, and he's also a witch. I can't remember which one because it's been a little while since I read this. The main characters are super badasses, but they're also like a little bit softer with each other because they're like such a good friendship base, which is great. The prince also has a great friendship based line. I'm like, yes, I love all these people. Then the other one I want to mention is A Song of Race and Ruin. This one is more romance-based, so it's like more traditional YA, I'd say. It's like a good combination of like magic and world building and romance. It's also a West African fantasy inspired novel, so it's a little bit different than your traditional like English, British, Scottish, just more English. Got some cool new monsters, some new demons, a really cool pantheon of gods that I can't wait to read more about in the sequel. And this is about a princess whose mother, the queen, is mysteriously assassinated, and to resurrect her from the dead, she needs a king's heart. So she makes this big competition as like a farce so she can marry someone, rip their heart out, but then the other character is obviously one of the competitors. So there's like a tiny touch of like Hunger Games slash Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. It's also like a little bit like Black Panther. I'd be very happy to unwrap this under the Christmas tree. You don't even have to wrap it. It's just, it's so shiny. Like it brings its own wrapping, you know? Oh, stunning. Ginger break. I can never take a ginger break. I'm always a ginger. Gonna bring back authors Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff for another one of their books, which is Aurora Rising, which I know was very popular. Is that last year? What is time anymore? Or really any book that has a ragtag band of space heroes, because I love me a good found family in space while also on a spaceship kind of deal. I would highly recommend one of my favorite books of the year, which is Seven Devils by Laura Lamb and Elizabeth May, or A Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. Seven Devils is a very cool book. This is about a ruthless galactic empire whose heir faked her own death to escape her fate, but that usually doesn't work too well, or so I'm told. She gets recruited into the resistance to help fight her father, and of course we have the crew that happens, and some stowaways on board that become much more important to the story than even they've believed. Really interesting take on galactic empires and like the future of kingdoms, the way that we control people, and the corruption of power. And it's such an interesting mix of characters in here that I want to be friends with, I want to fight. One of them is like my little baby cinnamon roll that I would destroy anybody who looks at wrong. Sometimes I want to live in this world, and other times I'm very glad that I don't. So I think this would be a great new sci-fi that just came out, so it's new and shiny and exciting. Or maybe, like me, you don't necessarily like the hardcore space stuff, you know, I'm like, give me like some space mumbo jumbo and like some laser fights, and then just be like astrophysics, and I can be like, ah yes, of course, we like that. Then The Small Way to a Long Angry Planet is your ticket in. This is another found family in space adventure where the main character joins a crew to do long haul space exploration, and then we learn more about her and like her family life, what it's like on Earth, how Earth's doing, and then we also learn about the other alien type creatures and beings that are on the spaceship and in the galaxy. We get to learn the stories of intergalactic people, connections between people, and like how people build those. And it was such a lovely, beautiful book. So if the person that you are giving this for, maybe you're buying it for yourself, I don't know, but if they like more character-driven things, would recommend this one. All right, now a book that was recommended to death for the last couple of years is The Cruel Prince series by Holly Black, which is one of my personal favorites. You know, I love me some fairy lore, but this was being hyped. Like, I don't think that there is a teen reader below the age of 12 who doesn't know what this book is. But maybe they've already read it, and if they read it and loved it, I have many fairy novels to recommend, but I'll go with my classic favorite, and that is The Falconer by Elizabeth May. 1840 Scotland, Edinburgh with steampunk fairy assassins. Hello! Wait for it. Oh damn! Melina is a girl whose mother was killed by fairies, and ever since then she's had a vengeance against them and tries to like murder any that she sees, and her mentor is a stunningly handsome fairy character. There is romance in this, but it's also stunted by that sense of propriety, especially in the higher class where everyone's like awkwardly jumping around language, which of course some fairies do care a lot about and some really don't, as happens in this. She's sassy, she's badass, she's out for revenge. She doesn't let anything stop her. I think she's a really good role model. And in this adventure novel, fairies are starting to break free of a curse that has kept them hidden underground for thousands of years. So we have a lot of action and a lot of sword play, a lot of word play. I really love this book and I wish more people knew about it. And then an absolute classic that like everybody has read is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo, which like, yes please, for Christmas, I'll take 2. Group of people plan a heist in like a magical Russian-inspired folklore setting. Loved it, thought it was great, good character development, but everybody's read it already. Like this is the darling of the book side of the internet. So if that is the gift receivee's favorite book, may I recommend The Gilded Wolves by Roshni Chakshi as well. This is the same type of heist novel with a very diverse and interesting cast full of people that are queer and POC and neurodivergent, except this is an alternative history 1890s Paris, where we talk about lost heirs to magical families and a bunch of people having to search for magical items for this magical cult. So many different types of relationships, and it shows how people react to each other and about like guilt and like who holds power over other people and who chooses to let people hold power over them. This is this really cool idea of like meshing science and math together. So even if maybe the person that you're buying this for isn't like a hardcore science person or a hardcore English person, I think the two together is like a really cool combination and it makes this book so much more believable. Now I'm like, oh yes, there's obviously a magical French cult that deals in otherworldly artifacts. Like, duh. Oh, plus it's so shiny, it's so pretty. You just slip this under the tree with a bow on it. It's like, oh, beautiful. Ooh, okay, I think second to last. I'm gonna try to wrap this up. My camera battery is not happy with me. This book, I don't really have anything to quite compare it to, just in general, except for Beauty and the Beast. Or maybe like the Disney adult in your life. We all have one that absolutely loves Beauty and the Beast. And I'm not the hugest fan of that. It's not my favorite fairy tale. However, one of my favorite books is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. That is A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kemmerer. There are a lot of Beauty and the Beast retellings out there in the world, especially in the YA category, and this is one of the best ones. First of all, our main character has cerebral palsy, and she does not let that stop her. We have a grumpy yet sympathetic prince character that we get to see from, and another servant from the castle, who is not like any of the other traditional teacup or the clock. They don't exist. But Gray does, and he's very interesting. There's a great twist on the Beast, which I think is very interesting, and the way that this world is set up is so unique. Like, I love that Bridget took the Beauty and the Beast story and really made it her own, and really expanded that world and said, what if to that traditional story. I love this book so much. And the third one is coming out in January, so you might not be able to buy the whole thing, but you can at least buy the first 2 and just like set them up, right? Set them up for that third one, that finale book. Ooh, I want it. One last book we are going to end the video with is one that I didn't quite know where to put, because it's a bit odd. It's not a real contemporary, it's not a real sci-fi, it's not a real dystopian, but it's a little existential. And that is We Are the Ants by Sean David Hutchinson, which is a book that I would recommend to people that have A, read everything, and I do mean everything, or B, want to expand out of the contemporary genre but don't quite know where to start. This is about a boy named Henry. His life isn't too great. His boyfriend has had something unfortunate happen to him, his friend has had something unfortunate happen to them, his family is in shambles, and he hates his life. But Henry also has this thing where sometimes, casually, he gets abducted by aliens. Not in a weird way, just like, they take him up while he's dreaming and like put him back down again in the morning. During one of these abductions, these not human at all whatsoever aliens give him a choice, and they say that the world is going to end in 144 days and he has the choice to either stop it or speed it up. And when Henry's first given this choice, he's thinking, well, this is stupid, I don't get it, I hate everything, why everyone hates me, like my family sucks, why don't I just end it all? But then as his life starts to get better and he has a better relationship with his family and he starts to find closure about things in his past, he starts to realize like maybe I am not the person to make this decision, and like what gives me that power. Really cool book, especially for teenagers, I'd say, to kind of realize like, oh yeah, like you have your own issues, but there are also things around the world that are being affected by what you do, and even without you even being there. This is some of the best character development that I have read from any novel, even a contemporary, where everything is like real life. This is realer. This is more real. English major, get yourself together, Rachel. And it does this fun thing every couple chapters. There is one page where it describes a scenario of how the world could end. Some of them are all right, like, oh, global warming, or like another world war with nuclear power. Then they just get more and more ridiculous. It's like, ah, cockroaches take over, or oh, someone invents a time machine, like messes with the space-time continuum, and then the world turns into a black hole and ceases to exist. The book is so underrated, and I love it so much. And I think this is something that a lot of people will kind of skip over, because I don't know if they've changed the cover, but it's like not that exciting. No offense to whoever designed this cover, but I love this book so much. Just wrap it in something shiny, and people will want it. Oh my god, I did it. Oh, my camera battery is running on a spicy 18%. And I'm running on half of this leftover gingerbread cookie. All I want for Christmas is a new camera battery. So there you have it. There is a long list of books that I love to give other people, and some ideas to give the bookish person in your life this holiday season. Please leave down below in a giant communal post what are your favorite books to gift other people, because I find myself going back to the same couple books over and over again just because they're such good, solid, staple books that like so many people that I know love and have gotten them into reading. So leave yours and we could all have a giant discussion and just swap book recommendations and get some, you know, good holiday reads. Or, you never know what you're gonna get this holiday season. Maybe it'll be a gift card. So you could be watching this video after Christmas and then get some of these. Oh, there's the brain cell. I hope everybody has a happy holiday season. I'm gonna be spending it with my family and maybe one or two of my friends in my little circle, and it's just gonna be like a cozy holiday. And, you know, I wish all of you a cozy, warm holiday too. You know where to click like the video, you know where to click to subscribe. I hope you guys are all having a nice day wherever you are, and I will see you all next week. Happy holidays!